Have you ever blurted out something and instantly wished you could turn back time? We've all been there. That moment when your words feel like an arrow you can't pull back. But imagine if you could master your speech so that every word you say reflects wisdom, finesse, and inner strength. That's exactly what we're diving into today. 6 things an intelligent person never says, all inspired by the timeless philosophy of Stoicism. Stoicism teaches us that words aren't just sounds, they're reflections of your intellect and values. From avoiding meaningless bragging to embracing the power of silence, these habits not only shape how you communicate, but also define who you are. And the best part? By the end of this video, you'll have practical insights to immediately elevate the way you speak, whether it's at work, with friends, or even in your inner dialogue. So get ready. This isn't just about what you say, it's about how your words shape who you are. Don't miss this. We're about to embark on a journey that will transform how you understand the true power of speech. Number 1. Avoid boasting about knowledge. Have you ever met someone who couldn't stop talking about their knowledge and accomplishments? They'd go on about everything they know, the lessons they've learned, and even the books they've read. At first, you might be impressed, but over time, that initial fascination turns into distance. Not because their knowledge lacks value, but because the way they showcase it makes others feel overshadowed. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that true wisdom doesn't need to flaunt itself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nature does not boast about what it creates, and neither should we take credit for our wisdom." This isn't just advice, it's a way of life. Let me tell you a story. I once knew a friend named John, an expert in the tech field. In meetings or gatherings, John always tried to be the smartest person in the room. He'd talk about major projects he'd worked on, the complex technologies he'd mastered, and even the awards he'd won. At first, people were captivated, but over time, they began to feel like John was turning every conversation into a personal showcase. One day, a colleague candidly told him that while his knowledge was impressive, his approach to sharing it was alienating others. That moment was a turning point for John, as he realized that in trying to impress, he was unintentionally pushing people away. This is a common trap that many people fall into. When you feel compelled to share your knowledge or accomplishments, ask yourself why. If your goal is to help others or contribute to a conversation, that's great. But if it's to seek admiration or recognition, it's time to reconsider. When you boast, you not only devalue your words, but also create an invisible barrier between yourself and others. Instead of inspiring people, you make them feel judged or measured against your intellect. Stoic philosophy offers a solution. First, let your actions speak louder than your words. If you truly possess knowledge, it will naturally show through your work and how you solve problems. Second, practice humility. Humility doesn't mean downplaying your abilities. It means allowing others to discover your value through interaction and experience. Finally, listen. When you listen, you don't just learn from others, but you also show respect and build deeper connections. Listening is a form of silence that Stoics consider incredibly powerful. Silence isn't a lack of knowledge, it's a sign of confidence and understanding. John learned this lesson slowly but deeply. He began talking less about himself and paying more attention to the stories and ideas of others. Instead of trying to dominate conversations, he shifted to contributing humbly and listening more. Over time, people started seeking him out, not just for his intelligence, but for the sincerity and collaborative spirit he brought. He proved that knowledge isn't meant to be flaunted, but to be shared in a way that elevates the community. Avoiding boasting doesn't mean denying yourself the chance to share your knowledge. It means presenting it in a way that makes others feel respected and connected. Stoic philosophy teaches us that your words reflect your inner character. When you choose humility over arrogance, you enrich not just your life, but also the lives of those around you. Ask yourself, what do your words say about you? The answer will shape your path to growth. 2. Never dismiss others' opinions. Have you ever felt overlooked in a conversation where your opinion was dismissed before you even had the chance to explain? It's a painful feeling, as though all your effort and thought were being disregarded. The worst part, you might even start to question yourself. Is what I'm saying really not valuable? I know this feeling all too well because I've been the one causing it. Early in my leadership role at work, I was confident in my ability to make quick judgments. During one meeting, a colleague suggested an idea to improve our workflow. Without thinking twice, I interrupted, dismissing it as impractical. I thought I was saving everyone time. What I didn't realize was the eerie silence that followed, the hesitant glances from others, and the way the meeting continued with little enthusiasm for further ideas. Afterward, a trusted colleague gently told me, "Maybe you should have listened a bit longer. That idea wasn't as bad as it sounded at first." That comment hit me like a wake-up call. Not only had I lost an opportunity, but I had also unintentionally created a culture of reluctance within my team. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true wisdom comes from openness, not arrogance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You cannot learn what you think you already know." When you dismiss someone's opinion without listening, you're not only shutting the door on creativity, but also undermining trust and connection. This doesn't just cost you valuable ideas, it weakens your own leadership. From that experience, I began to change how I approached conversations. In subsequent meetings, I reminded myself that listening doesn't mean agreeing. Listening is about giving respect and opening yourself to learning, even if the idea doesn't initially seem viable. To my surprise, by adopting a curious mindset, my team started contributing breakthrough solutions that I had never considered. Here's a shift in perspective to try. Instead of thinking, "How can I counter this idea?" ask yourself, "What can I learn from this?" Even seemingly flawed ideas can contain valuable insights, and if not, you still gain a better understanding of how someone else views the problem, and that understanding in itself has value. Second, practice humility. Stoicism reminds us that we are not the center of the universe. Dismissing someone else's opinion is, at its core, an act of placing your viewpoint above all others, as if only you hold the ultimate truth. But the reality is, no single person has all the answers. True wisdom lies in collaboration and the exchange of ideas. After I changed my approach, the atmosphere in our meetings shifted. I started asking more questions and encouraging even the quietest team members to share their thoughts. The result? Not only did we generate better ideas, but the team also felt more respected and connected. I realized that everyone, in their own way, has something to teach me, something I had been missing because of my own impatience and overconfidence. In the end, refusing to dismiss others' opinions isn't just an act of kindness, it's a strategy. When you respect the perspectives of those around you, you open the door to endless ideas, insights, and opportunities. You build trust and create an environment where real innovation can thrive. As Stoics believe, wisdom isn't about proving you're right. It's about understanding that everyone, in their unique way, carries a piece of the truth. And that is the essence of true wisdom. 3. Refrain from complaining without purpose. Imagine someone like Peter, a middle-aged professional with years of experience under his belt. Peter has a lot on his plate, managing work deadlines, dealing with family responsibilities, and navigating the inevitable hiccups life throws at him. But instead of tackling these challenges constructively, Peter has developed a habit of constant complaining. From the inefficiency of his co-workers to how the coffee machine at work always seems to be out of order, Peter's grievances know no bounds. At first, his colleagues sympathized, even offering solutions. But as weeks turned into months, the negativity wore them down. Conversations with Peter became draining, and people started avoiding him. Not because they didn't care, but because they simply couldn't handle the constant stream of complaints. One day, during a lunch break, a friend said something that stopped Peter in his tracks. "Peter, I understand your frustration, but what are you doing to fix these problems?" The question lingered. Peter realized he wasn't looking for solutions. He was venting without purpose. Worse, his constant negativity was not only alienating others, but also reinforcing his own sense of helplessness. This scenario is all too common. It's easy to fall into the trap of expressing frustrations without considering the impact on others or ourselves. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful antidote. Focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, wisely wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Complaining, especially about things beyond our control, only magnifies feelings of powerlessness, trapping us in a loop of negativity. However, not all complaints are inherently bad. When framed with a purpose, they can drive positive change. But when they lack direction, complaints become noise, empty words that sap energy and solve nothing. Think about it. Complaining about traffic doesn't clear the roads, and grumbling about the weather won't stop the rain. Intelligent people understand this distinction and channel their energy into what truly matters. So how can you break free from the habit of pointless complaining? Start by asking yourself one simple question whenever frustration arises. What can I do about this? If the answer is nothing, then let it go. Venting about uncontrollable situations not only wastes time, but also robs you of inner peace. Redirect that energy towards something constructive. Read, reflect, or practice gratitude for the things that are going well in your life. Another strategy is to reframe your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" try asking, "What can I learn from this?" Stoicism teaches us that every challenge presents an opportunity for growth. Complaints blind us to these opportunities, while reflection helps us uncover them. Returning to Peter, he took his friend's advice to heart and began shifting his mindset. Instead of complaining about his manager, he started preparing thoughtful solutions to the challenges he faced at work. Instead of grumbling about his commute, he listened to audiobooks or practiced mindfulness during traffic jams. Over time, his outlook changed. His words carried more weight because they were no longer filled with negativity. His relationships improved, and his colleagues began seeking his advice and company, drawn to his calm, solution-focused demeanor. Ultimately, refraining from purposeless complaints is about reclaiming your power. When you focus on what you can control, you not only strengthen your mind, but also enhance your influence on those around you. Stoic philosophy reminds us that our words and thoughts are tools. Used wisely, they can build a life of resilience, purpose, and connection with others. When you let go of empty complaints and embrace constructive action, you not only change how others perceive you, but you also transform your own life. 4. No empty promises. Promises hold a unique weight in our lives. They shape expectations, build trust, and define relationships. Yet how often do we find ourselves making promises lightly, without fully considering whether we can follow through? This habit, while often unintentional, can erode credibility and weaken connections. Stoic philosophy teaches us the importance of aligning our words with our actions. emphasizing that integrity is not in saying much, but in delivering what we say. Let's consider a man named Greg, a 50-something professional juggling a demanding career and family responsibilities. Greg was well-meaning, but often overcommitted himself. He'd promise his team that he'd review their reports by Monday or assure his family he'd be home in time for dinner, only to fall short time and again. At first, people excused his behavior, seeing it as the result of his busy schedule. But as the unfulfilled promises piled up, so did the frustrations. His team began to second-guess his commitments, and his family grew weary of his constant excuses. Greg's words, once taken at face value, now carried an undertone of doubt. One evening, after missing yet another family event, his teenage daughter left a note on his desk that read, "We just want you to mean it when you say it." That simple message struck a chord. Greg realized that, while he had the best intentions, his empty promises were doing more harm than good, eroding the trust and respect he worked so hard to build. This story highlights a key Stoic principle: speak with intention and act with integrity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Let your words be plain and true." This teaching reminds us that promises are not just about appeasing the moment. They are commitments that tie our words to our character. Breaking a promise, even unintentionally, is like writing a check your credibility can't cash. So how can we avoid making empty promises while still nurturing trust and respect? Start by pausing before you commit. Ask yourself, do I have the time, resources and energy to fulfill this promise? If the answer is uncertain, it's better to set realistic expectations than to overpromise and underdeliver. For instance, instead of saying, "I'll definitely have this ready by tomorrow," try saying, "I'll aim to have it ready by tomorrow, but if I need more time, I'll let you know." Another strategy is to practice under-promising and over-delivering. By setting achievable goals and occasionally exceeding them, you not only avoid disappointment, but also build a reputation for reliability. Imagine Greg telling his team he'd need 3 days to review their reports, but completing them in 2. Such actions speak volumes, demonstrating competence and thoughtfulness. Lastly, embrace accountability. If you ever find yourself unable to keep a promise, address it head-on. Apologize sincerely, explain the situation briefly, and propose a solution. This approach not only minimizes the damage, but also shows respect for the other person's time and trust. Greg took these lessons to heart. He became more mindful of his commitments, saying no when necessary, and ensuring he could deliver on his yes. Over time, his team regained their trust in him, and his family began to see his efforts as genuine. What's more, Greg noticed a change in himself, a sense of peace that came from knowing his words carried weight and his actions backed them up. In the end, avoiding empty promises is not about being perfect. It's about being authentic and dependable. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength lies in living with integrity, where words and actions align seamlessly. By committing to this principle, you not only earn respect, but also create deeper, more meaningful relationships. After all, it's not the promises we make that define us, it's the ones we keep. Before we move on to the next point, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel with the notification bell on, so you don't miss future videos. If you're as passionate about this kind of content as I am, leave a comment saying, "I love this wisdom." Let's continue. 5. Don't deny your mistakes. Have you ever felt that admitting a mistake is like exposing your weaknesses for everyone to judge? I used to think that too, but one experience changed my perspective completely. Through Stoic philosophy, I learned that admitting your mistakes doesn't diminish your worth. Instead, it elevates you as someone who is honest and strong. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I will gladly change, for it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone." Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I was leading a major project at work. In my rush to meet a tight deadline, I overlooked some critical details in a report. As a result, those inaccuracies caused my team to face criticism from upper management. When the mistake came to light, my first instinct was to make excuses, blame the workload, the tight timeline, anything but myself. Deep down, however, I knew that would only erode the trust I had worked so hard to build. Instead, I chose to confront the situation. At the next meeting, I admitted my mistake, apologized to my team, and outlined clear steps to ensure it wouldn't happen again. The response was unexpected. Instead of judgment, my colleagues appreciated my honesty. Some even thanked me for taking accountability and setting an example. I realized then that admitting my mistake didn't weaken me, it made me more trustworthy. Why is owning up to mistakes so powerful? Because it breaks down walls of defensiveness and builds trust. By taking responsibility, you send a strong message that you value truth over your ego. You also create a safe environment where others feel comfortable admitting their mistakes and working towards solutions. But let's be real, admitting a mistake is not always easy. We fear being judged or losing respect. Yet think about this. Does denying an obvious mistake actually improve your image, or does it make you look unreliable? Remember, the courage to admit your faults is a sign of confidence. It shows you are strong enough to face the truth and committed to getting better. So how can you apply this lesson in your life? Start by practicing self-awareness. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to point fingers. Instead, ask yourself, what was my role in this? Even if your share of the blame is small, owning it is the first step toward a solution. Next, focus on fixing the problem. Don't just apologize and move on. Demonstrate through your actions that you're working to make things right. Stoic philosophy reminds us that mistakes are not failures, but opportunities to learn and grow. Those who have the courage to admit their errors don't just improve themselves, they inspire those around them. When you learn to face your mistakes, you're laying a foundation of respect and trust. The next time you make a mistake, don't hide or deflect. Pause, take responsibility, and commit to doing better. Remember, the courage to admit your mistakes is what truly sets you apart and earns you respect. 6. Don't overshare future plans. The Stoics emphasize that keeping promises isn't just about fulfilling obligations, it's about protecting your credibility and respecting others. Empty promises, no matter how small they seem at the moment, can slowly chip away at your reputation and trustworthiness. Let me share a story that might sound familiar. Meet Jim, a middle-aged professional with a warm demeanor and a tendency to agree to almost anything people ask of him. Whether it was helping a friend move, volunteering for an extra project at work, or promising to attend every community event, Jim had a default response: "Sure, count me in." But as life got busier, those well-intentioned agreements began to pile up, and he started forgetting or failing to show up. One day, a close friend invited Jim to an important family dinner. Jim, as usual, agreed enthusiastically, but later forgot and scheduled a work meeting at the same time. The day after the dinner, his friend told him how disappointed their family was. It was a wake-up call for Jim. He realized his words, meant to please in the moment, were causing more harm than good. His promises, though not malicious, had become hollow, and they were damaging the relationships he cared most about. This scenario highlights a common trap. Sometimes we overcommit to avoid awkwardness or to appear agreeable. But the Stoics teach us that words should be purposeful and aligned with our actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." In other words, authenticity and intention should guide every promise you make. Saying yes without conviction often stems from a fear of disappointing others, but what actually causes more harm is failing to follow through. So how do you avoid making empty promises? Start with a pause before agreeing to something. Take a moment to consider whether it aligns with your priorities and whether you can realistically fulfill it. If not, a respectful no can be far more valuable than a hesitant yes that never materializes. People appreciate honesty and clarity over vague commitments that lead to frustration. Next, prioritize quality over quantity. It's better to commit to fewer things and do them well than to spread yourself too thin and let others down. When you say you'll do something, do it with intention and excellence. This approach builds a reputation for reliability and respect. Finally, understand that saying no is not selfish, it's self-awareness. The Stoics believe in focusing on what is within your control, and spreading yourself too thin diminishes your ability to deliver on promises that truly matter. When you keep your commitments intentional and deliberate, you protect your integrity and maintain trust. As Jim reflected on his wake-up call, he started adopting a more mindful approach. He began saying no to requests he couldn't genuinely accommodate and focused on delivering on the commitments that mattered most. Over time, his relationships improved and people came to respect him, not for saying yes to everything, but for always following through on what he agreed to. In the end, avoiding empty promises is about more than keeping your word. It's about aligning your actions with your values and creating deeper, more meaningful connections. The Stoics remind us that every word we speak shapes how others see us and how we see ourselves. So the next time someone asks you for a commitment, take a breath, reflect, and ensure your promise is one you can honor fully. That's not just wisdom, it's strength. I would love to hear about your journey and triumphs. Please hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below to share your story, your successes, and even the challenges you've overcome. If you're not sure what to comment, just write, "I love this," to show that you've completed this session. Your engagement helps this community grow toward wisdom and the art of turning every challenge into an opportunity. I'll leave 2 more videos here so you can continue learning and growing on your personal development journey. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.